The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Ooh, Chavo. Chavo, todo nombre.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. I want to welcome you, those of you just joining us here on 540 ESPN in Milwaukee. Damian Nelson along with David Hero and Linda Kay here on Monday, October 3rd, 2011. And we are joined by the man whose music you hear in the background. Please welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report, Chavo Guerrero. Chavo, how are you tonight?
I'm good, man. How you guys doing?
Absolutely tremendous. Thank you so much for joining us here on a late Monday night. And Chavo, it's great to talk to you. We first time having you on this program, and want to hear a little bit about what you're up to nowadays. Talk about your time in WWE and your thoughts on what's going on in professional wrestling right now. And I can't wait to hear some of your answers, especially if they're anything like some of the tweets we've seen you tweeting at Mex Warrior on Twitter. So firstly, Chavo, why don't you share with the world what happened surrounding your departure from WWE and what you've been up to since leaving WWE a few months back?
Sure. Well, what happened was that I finally just got tired of, the machine kind of passing you by and just kind of pushing the people that I'm. To me, wrestling really has changed, at least with the WWE, and man, it's like they don't really care if you can wrestle anymore. They just try to put the other people out there that just doesn't make sense to me anymore. I watch the shows and I just can't watch them anymore. It's very hard for me to watch them because you never see that match anymore, that great match. It's very, very few and far between. You'll get some guys out there that are still good, like a Christian and RKO together. That they'll go tear the house down. But those matches like we'd see at WrestleMania with Taker and Shawn Michaels, those when we were. All of us were sitting there watching them. They're not around anymore. I can't watch when these guys are just not good.
Well, Chavo, one of the things that I've been seeing is that it's kids that they're just taking them off the indie circuit, putting them in a warehouse and saying, okay, learn. Whereas, back when it was, you and Taker and Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin and so on and so forth, you guys worked the territories.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I guess it's not all their fault because, there's really no territories anymore. So, you got a guy like guys that came from a different sport and saying, well, I'll try wrestling. And next you know, they're in FCW, and next you know, they're on TV. And they're springboard to their acting career or whatever you want to call it, So, it is what it is. But I feel bad for the fans, just because they're not being delivered those matches and the entertainment that wrestling is capable of.
You mentioned earlier and I quote, the machine passing you by. You spent a ton of time in both WCW and WWE. You were in ECW, you were on SmackDown, you were on Raw. Chavo was always there. It was a bit of a surprise once WWE announced that you were no longer going to be with the company, especially given the fact that you had worked with so many people and made them better, specifically, most recently, Sin Cara.
Yeah. Well, I asked for my release. They didn't fire me.
Right.
I asked for my release, and that's when I definitely want to put that out there. I know they always put it on the website to where it's kind of the hints, like they let you go and good luck in your future endeavors,
Right.
But really the true story is that I asked for my release. I just got tired of not being used there, and wrestling's different than any other real business out there because it doesn't really matter if you're, let's say, good in the ring or good in your promos or just good, period. It comes down to one guy, and it comes down to Vince McMahon. And if he sees that he can make money with you, or if he thinks, well, we're gonna push him, we're gonna put the rocket on him, if you want to call it, well, then there you go. And it just, you've seen it time and time again where they try to force guys down your throat, and it's like, no pun intended, but they try to force these wrestler characters down your throat, and you're just like going, come on,
Right.
I mean, you want to talk about, Sin Cara, it's like, for real, they moved him from Raw, a live show, to SmackDown, a tape show, because he was messing up all the spots and wasn't good, had to redo matches, and it's like I've never seen that before. I've never seen them actually cater to somebody like that. I'm
Right.
like, what does this guy have over, Vince or Triple H or whatever? I think he's just like one of the guys' pet projects or something. They want to see, they are trying to show that they can make it work. But it's the same, this has been straight from some of the other wrestlers' mouths that were right in gorilla position when back then when S.A. Rios was doing, Aguilar and
Papi Chulo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and was actually, wrestling, was a good wrestler, but, Vince really sat there in the gorilla position and goes, what? He can't speak English? Well, then he's on. He didn't even know he was already with the company for a year. And all of a sudden, we let him go right there. He'll never make it. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, you got guys that, especially in WWE, your promos are so much of your character, sometimes more than the wrestling now. They, they just said Vince or whoever it is wants to try to make somebody work. They're going to do everything they can to make that guy work.
And is it not true that most of the time they have the ability to make it work?
Well,
most of the time.
This is what I've learned. In wrestling, anything can be done at any time as long as it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
I always use the example of the people's elbow. It was an elbow drop,
right?
Just a regular old elbow drop, and it became the most electrifying move in wrestling.
Sports entertainment.
People loved it. It was crazy, and it's just how he did it and when he did it. He hit the right spot, and Rock was give all credit where credit's due, because Rock is an extremely talented guy, promo, ring-wise, everything. He was, he's definitely one of a guy that I look up to that was just a great wrestler all around.
Mm-hmm. And I think you've shared some of the reasoning already, but a lot of people are surprised when they hear talent such as yourself say that they asked for their release from WWE. Because most people see that as this dream job, see this as this glamorous lifestyle without ever being able to fully understand it, because you really can only understand it if you've done it. So right. It's how do you explain to a lot of those fans who want to be where you were, why you asked to be released from your contract?
Well, WWE, I always say it's a great job for a young single guy who can go travel the world, and you can make a little money and see a bunch of things and all these different experiences. But then all of a sudden, you get married and you get a family, you have kids, and you're sucked in. You can't get out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Even it's kind of like when you want to get out, you can't. But then when it doesn't want you, when wrestling doesn't want you, you want to get back in. So it's kind of like catch-22. But I see that, and man, you just you really work your butt off at WWE for your money. They don't give you any handouts,
right?
And they shouldn't. It's just a company. It's a business. But you wrestle a lot, and you're gone a lot. So you put up with sometimes the money is not worth all the politics and all the BS that you put up with all the time. It's like sometimes they try to get you, and I don't understand why, but it's like they try to get you to hate wrestling.
Yeah.
When we love wrestling so much, and it's like we want to just propel the company into getting better, and us doing better, and we're working towards the same goals there. But sometimes we feel, and this is from the wrestlers, this is every wrestler will really tell you this, that sometimes you feel that it's the company against you, like like you're like enemies, and you're not. You don't want to be, but it's like they put you in that position,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just weird. I've talked to David about this before, and just kind of, you just, you want to, you don't want to hate wrestling, because it's with me. It's in my blood. It's
right.
Everything that was I was about. But it's like I was talking to my dad about it, Chavo Classic, and he goes, well, now you know how I feel, man. It's like. They just, man, they get you just to they just work you and work you and work you and work you and work you, and there's no payoff, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it could be expected that most wrestling fans would ever understand that, because
it's hard. It's hard to understand unless you're like in the shoes, you know.
Right.
But that whole saying, the grass is always greener, you know.
Yeah.
You know, hey, it's not. It doesn't matter about the money. If you can pay you whatever you want, but if you're unhappy, then no amount of money is going to make you happy.
Let's talk about some of the talents in WWE, some that you've worked with, many that you know, some that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to work with. But I'm very intrigued to hear your thoughts on some talents, specifically Mark Henry, because we've seen him move into the role of being the World Heavyweight Champion now in WWE and has been just performing extremely well, if not the best that he's ever performed, at least overall speaking, performing in the ring and whatnot. But what's your opinion, and how do you feel about Mark Henry?
And I won't just say this because Mark Henry is my boy, but you know he's first of all he's a gentle giant. The guy he's a great guy. He legitimately is the world's strongest man, and he's got a heart of gold. You don't ever want to make him mad because he'll rip you in half, literally. But you know, it's great to see somebody who's been around and has been, you know, pushing and going at it and get that opportunity, you know. And I've always said with Mark, he's got a look that there's nobody else like him in the world. You know, he walks into the ring and you're just like, wow, this guy is that a man? What is that? He's like he's so just. I mean, he's just got this look. He's big and strong. And when he's not smiling, you know, we know him in the back. When he's sitting there with that look in his face, man, it's crazy, you know. And I've always told him before I go, when he gets in that ring and he like bum rushes you real fast in the corner. It's like, you know, I've been his partner and seen him do that to people, and I mean, I've heard the people in the front row kind of like gasp, you know, and me watching it going, oh God, like man, I've pulled him aside going, you got to do that more often, man, you got to do that. So, you know, he's just got a different quality other than other people out there, and just, you know, his look. So I'm glad to see him finally get a chance out there, and I hope he holds on to the title for a little bit, you know.
Yep. Alberto Del Rio, current WWE champion.
Alberto, that's another one of my boys. You guys are hitting my friends, and
we didn't even go over this list in advance.
I know, and I won't just talk good about him or bad about him because I like him or don't like him. I'll tell you the truth and what I really feel. Alberto he's a great talent. You know, he's a third generation wrestler. He's the son of Dos Caras and the nephew of Mil Mascaras. So our families actually go way back. You know, my father and uncles have wrestled them for years, and my grandfather had a hand in actually training, you know, Mil Mascaras and Dos Caras. So our families go way back, but Alberto and I only go back about a year. We met when he first came up, and really hit it off, and had a lot of real good matches, and I helped teach him this style, the WWE American style, you know, and he picked it up real fast. And he's just a natural. He's a natural athlete. You know, he's an MMA guy. He's you know, he was a great Greco-Roman wrestler, you know, a world-class wrestler, you know. So he's got everything there. And for somebody to come from Mexico and not speak English, all of a sudden learn English and to be able to do the promos and get the heat that he does, that's, you know, it says a lot.
Yeah.
So he's
and to learn the new style of wrestling because it's completely different.
Absolutely. But he's an athlete, so he can adapt to that real well, you know. He can't just do not just the lucha spots, but, you know, he's learned just to take his time in the ring and stop and look at the people, and, you know, and he's got a good look. He's a big guy, and he's a handsome guy, and, you know, he's
rich, handsome, and powerful.
Yeah.
Right?
He's got a future in the business for sure, you know.
John Cena, your thoughts on John Cena?
Cena. I've talked some stuff on him, but in my Twitter account at Mex Warrior, but I kind of tell it like it is, you know. And John, I like John. John's a nice guy. He's a good guy, and he's a hard worker for sure. My gripe with John is that I felt that he was getting lazy in the ring. Not lazy in the fact that he wasn't working, because the guy's, you know, he's out there for 45 minutes, and he's you know, like the backbone of the company.
Right.
But I just felt that he was getting stale. Like all of his comeback was exactly the same. I mean, you can count it, you can say it, by heart. You can, it's shoulder tackle, swing, duck, that side suplex he does, the five knuckle shuffle. You can't see me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like exactly the same thing every time. And really, that's I worked. If you look back at the tapes, we worked together a lot.
Right.
Me and Eddie against. But one of our first matches at Los Guerreros, or even before Los Guerreros, was against Edge and John Cena. When John Cena said tight on, we didn't teach him that way. We taught him think out of the box, do different things. Now, don't get me wrong. Especially a babyface or the top babyface, there's moves that you're definitely going to have to get in every match, and that's what people want to see. They want to see those moves. But sometimes you do not necessarily have to do them exactly the same order at all time. Now, since me saying that, and I don't know if that's a direct result or not a direct result, I've noticed that he's changed up the style a little bit. I can't say that I haven't talked to him.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him. I have no idea. So
he definitely is aware, though, of as you said, you've been very vocal on Twitter, and he's on Twitter as well.
Yeah. But see, he's not. He's a smart guy. He's
Yeah.
not a dumb guy. He's, him and Rock are doing that Twitter battle back and forth, and they got paper. They got WrestleMania coming up, the next WrestleMania, so they're pushing that. He's never responded to me on Twitter because of the fact that there's no money there. He knows that. There's no money here right now. What are you going to do? Just respond to me and get in a verbal battle with me for no reason? There's no money there. He's a smart guy. He's a guy that he's got a bunch of different cars. He's got 20, 30 cars, whatever he's got. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't buy just cars. Like he had a Bentley and he sold it. I go, why? He goes, man, it was devaluating too much. So he just constantly he just buys these cars that are just worth money, that are just going to keep going up in value, and that's his thing, And he's a smart guy. He's not dumb. Hats off to him, for sure.
Well, some interesting comments on some of the biggest stars in wrestling from one of the biggest stars in wrestling, Chavo Guerrero. And you mentioned the biggest event in wrestling, WrestleMania. You've participated in many a WrestleMania, and coming up on December 3rd here in Milwaukee, it is what King Kong Bundy calls the WrestleMania of independent wrestling. Mm-hmm. Blizzard Brawl 7 at the Waukesha County Expo Center. Chavo Guerrero in action.
Chavo Guerrero and Al Snow for the GLCW Championship.
The main event.
You know what? I was wondering, Chavo, Al brings head. Any chance you might be bringing Pepe along?
You know what? I wouldn't rule it out. If he's going to bring his head, then sure, I'll bring Pepe and whack him over the head with it.
I think that'd be fantastic.
I'm looking really forward to wrestling Al Snow. Al Snow is
tremendous
wrestler. I mean, he's a great guy, first of all, but he's a really good wrestler. He really knows what. We were together on Tough Enough 2 together. He was the main trainer, and I was one of his assistant trainers, and he. Man, I was just really impressed with how much he actually knew. I didn't know that he was that versed in wrestling and MMA and just different things. He really knows a lot, So I'm really looking forward to wrestling him, to be honest. I don't think we've ever actually had a one-on-one match.
Well, what was Tough Enough like for you? I mean, at the time, before the Tough Enough they have now, when it was on MTV, mm-hmm. I thought it was some of the more interesting wrestling programming on TV, and Tough Enough 2, I'm trying to think who won that year. I think that was Jackie Gaeta. I think she was one of them.
Yeah, Jackie and Linda.
Linda Miles.
Linda Miles.
Yes.
There you go.
What was that like for you to be a part of that?
That was fun. That was a great experience. That was kind of when I was first started out in WWE, and they approached me to do it, and I was like, heck yeah! And I spent 9 weeks in LA, and I'm like a trainer, a teacher by just growing up that way, and that's something that's just in my blood, and I really enjoy coaching, young kids and my son's teams and teaching them, the fundamentals of a sport and or a business, if you want to call wrestling, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I really, I just got a lot out of it. It was hard also because, as wrestlers, we were trying to produce a wrestler. Well, mm-hmm. Tough Enough that was on MTV, they were trying to produce a TV show, So really, that was kind of my first, that was like 2001 or something like that, 2002. So that was my first real experience with that, to where I started really kind of getting wrestling going, without ratings, there's no show. So it doesn't matter how good, we're trying to produce a wrestler, but if no one's watching, it doesn't matter. So, we were being told to keep a couple of people and make sure this guy says, and keep him because, he's good for ratings and this certain stuff. And we were like, God, this guy he can't win. If he wins, we'll quit. It was a 100% shoot, but the winners actually won, It wasn't like it was a plan type thing, but it was tough because, we wanted the best wrestler out there, and, MTV didn't care about wrestlers. They just wanted ratings. And I see that's how it is, and that's TV,
Now, you mentioned you came in around 2001, which was also about the same time the whole invasion angle happened.
Yeah.
WCW, ECW, and the E. And we talked about this earlier, that it may have been one of the biggest failures in wrestling because they couldn't produce the proper invasion angle. You were there. You were a part of it. What do you think was the main problem to have that, real WWE/F versus WCW battle?
Well, the real problem was that everybody that they brought over, their main top guys couldn't really work. Excluding Booker T. Booker T can go with the best of them. Mm-hmm. But you had, DDP that, was good in his own right, but didn't have that kind of style, that WWE style, And then you had like Buff Bagwell and the guys that they just didn't have that style and be able to run with their top guys. You didn't have, our top guys at the time. For the last 5 years, all you saw in WCW was Hulk Hogan, Goldberg, the Outsiders, Hall and Nash, Lex Luger, Macho Man, and those guys didn't work with anybody under the undercard guys. They didn't work with the Chris Benoits. They didn't work with the Eddies. They didn't work with the Chris Jerichos. They didn't work with the Rey Mysterios. They didn't work with me. And we all wanted to work with them, but they just, they all stayed in their little clique, and nobody worked with us. Mm-hmm. So, if you remember back then, you always had like the mid-card matches that would carry the show, and then all of a sudden you had the main events that were like, wah, wah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's when that cruiserweight style really got over, because it was kind of like the I used to call it the working man's belt, because we'd all bust our asses. Not that everybody else didn't, but we just we were having the best match of the show. So I think that they had no legs to stand on. Everybody was young guys. You had some of the like Sean O'Hare's and
Palumbo and
Chuck Palumbo, and guys were just young guys that they're not going to be able to go with the WWE's top stars, with the Undertaker and The Rock at the time, and Stone Cold, and Shawn Michaels was in there, but Triple H. It wasn't going to happen.
Were those stars that had come over from WCW deliberately treated differently in a negative way than the WWE born stars?
No, I didn't notice anything. Maybe some of the other guys noticed it. I really didn't. I don't know, maybe because, being a third generation wrestler, that they already accepted me or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know, They there was definitely some hazing going along, but it's just like a regular locker room. You go into a locker room, I've been around locker rooms my whole life. I played all different kind of sports, and it was always in the locker room when you're the young guy. There's etiquette, there's protocol in there. So the first thing you do, these guys test you a little bit. So yep. And we got tested. Bradshaw. I remember the first time he was messing with people big time. So that he looks at me and he goes, Chavo, you ain't like Eddie. I was like, okay, how's that? And he's in front of everybody. He goes, You're good looking.
That's
He goes, I think I'm going to rape you tonight.
Hey now.
Everybody looked at him like kind of, oh, what the heck's going on here? Because he'd already been razzing other people.
Yeah.
So I looked right at him and I said, it's about time I got some action. He started laughing and we started laughing, and it kind of, right away, I guess, I don't know if that he accepted me right then, and so I didn't really, like, back to the story, the question. I didn't really, I didn't see it. Some people definitely saw it. I feel bad for Buff Bagwell. They beat him up pretty good. Him and Farouk. And I get along with Marcus very well. To me, he was a really cool guy. But there's, you come into the locker room.
He's a heat machine, though. I love Buff to death, but he brings a lot of that on himself at times.
Oh, well, I agree. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But you go into somebody else's locker room. You're the new guys in the block. You're in WWE now, and everything you did in WCW, it was gone. It's over. You're starting brand new again, and you had to realize that. And I know I knew that. I realized that, and I was able to get along with everybody great, and there was a couple problems here and there, but my family kind of worked with all these veterans already, so I knew a lot of them already, so I didn't really see it.
Chavo, you mentioned you're a third generation. If you look at the current roster right now, you have Joe Hennig, Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase Jr. So you have three, and of course there's Randy Orton as well, guys that are second and third generation wrestlers.
Right.
I think they've, with the exception of Randy, I think the other three have had a difficult time getting established and getting themselves going. How hard is it to grow up a Guerrero in the wrestling business, or a Rhodes or a DiBiase or a Henning?
Henning or a McGillicuddy, if you want to call it.
Right, sure. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know why they're not using his real name. Come on. But it's hard. There's no guarantee you being a second or third or fourth generation. There's no guarantee you're going to make it in this business. It's a tough business, and it really is. So it's hard because you get in the door, you get your foot in the door easier. But once you get in the door, you have to prove yourself. There's a status you already have to live up to. You're already living up to your uncle or your grandfather or your father or whatever it might be, or all three of them. So it's tough. Because I'll take it for me, for instance. My grandfather Gory, when my father grew up and started the business, everybody said you're not going to be as good as your dad. So then when Eddie started the business, who's much younger than his older brother, Chavo Classic, my father, when Eddie started, they were like, you'll never be as good as your dad and Chavo and your older brother Chavo. When I started, everybody said, you're never going to be as good as Eddie, and it's just those haters out there that they try to compare you. But we can't be as good. We can be different. We can be, and that's just, we're all different people, so you got to overlook that. Is Cody Rhodes ever going to be Dusty Rhodes? Well, of course not. Nobody's going to be Dusty Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cody Rhodes he's got a great future. He's a young guy. He's a 25-year-old kid, and he's blossoming. He's gonna be really, really good. I think he's getting better and better every time. I've had some really great matches with the guy, and but is Ted DiBiase Jr. ever going to be Ted DiBiase Sr.? No. Was Ted DiBiase Sr. His father? No. I mean, it changes. Bob Orton, was he Bob Orton Sr.? No. With Randy Orton, he totally, completely changed too. And
Yep.
it just sometimes it's whatever they see in you. If Vince McMahon sees it, well, then he's going to push you, no matter if you're first, second, third, 10th generation.
And sometimes whether it's there or not, too.
Oh, yeah, and sometimes whether it's there or not. You've seen it. You've seen other, second-generation stars that
Yep.
get shoved down your throat and never amount to it,
Yep. Well, Chavo, we're gonna take a brief time out here, and when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about your thoughts on TNA Impact Wrestling and also Ring of Honor Wrestling. This is the Pro Wrestling Report with Chavo Guerrero here live on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Ooh, Chavo.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com. We're live here on Monday night, October 3rd, 2011. Chavo Guerrero is our guest, and it's been spectacular talking to you so far here on the program. As a matter of fact, we just got a tweet from one of our followers whose username is Idiot Brewer Fan. He says, this interview with Chavo Guerrero is absolutely tremendous. Viva la Raza. Right. People enjoying what you have to say, and how could they not? The great Chavo Guerrero here on this program. And we're going to see you here in Milwaukee on December 3rd as part of Blizzard Brawl 7. Now, Chavo, I don't know if you're aware, but there is another main event on that card in addition to you and Al Snow.
Now, how could there be two main events? Either one's the last match or it's not the last match.
You guys are headlining.
I always love the dual main event.
Yes, double main event. It's going to be Chris Masters returning to the ring to take on and lose to me, Damian Nelson.
All right.
It's the Nelson lock versus the Master lock.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
I feel for him. But anyways, Chavo, obviously you've been watching the product and you know what's going around and what's happening out there. And I really would love to get your opinion on a matchup that we are going to be seeing in a few weeks coming from TNA Wrestling. And that is the main event, the headliner, if you will, from Bound for Glory. And that is Hulk Hogan versus Sting, one-on-one in a wrestling ring on October 16th in Philadelphia.
Okay, so now let's give me some insight here. Have you actually wrestled yet, Sting and Hulk?
In TNA, no. They did wrestle some 15 years ago in WCW, I believe, was the last time.
Right. Okay. Well, you know what? That's I don't know. That's a tough one. You know, we don't know who's going to show up. Really, you know, Sting's in wrestling, and you know he's still going. He can go, but we haven't seen much of Hulk in the ring.
He's had 9 back surgeries since February of last year.
Yeah, you know, so you can't. I mean, you haven't seen much of him in the ring. You know, I've seen him on his commercials, the
Rena Center,
Rena Centers, and other, you know, the commercials like that, but I haven't seen him in the ring, so I don't know if he can still go, if he can still move. I don't know.
Well, Chavo,
I hope he can. I mean, people are paying for this hype
pay-per-view,
and the pay-per-view. You know, you want to deliver to the fans.
I honestly believe that Hogan versus Sting is not to have a wrestling match, but to try to sell tickets. I think that it's the two most recognizable names they have in TNA, and it's they're you know, Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania. It's their Super Bowl, World Series, however you want to phrase it. And they need to sell out about a 10,000-seat building. And Hogan and Sting are the only two guys that they could knock on every radio station and TV station's door and say, hey, Hulk Hogan and Sting's coming to town, and people will know who they're talking about. As talented as the rest of the TNA roster is, a lot of the casual wrestling fans will have no idea who they are.
Right. No, I see that, and I agree with that. You know, and it's all, like you said, it's all about putting butts in the seats and selling those tickets. But I'm just such a firm believer in delivering to the fans. You know, and I was so upset in that Mayweather fight when he got paid $40 million and you know, cheap shot of the guy and really and then he didn't even take responsibility for it. Just sat there and. You know,
wait, a guy who was all about lie, cheating, and stealing is all upset about Mayweather getting $40 million?
Well, hey, I'm down with him making that kind of money, but at the same time, I just was instilled from my grandfather that, you know, you've got to give the fans, these people that are paying their money to see you got to give them your money's worth, you know, and you really, I mean, you got to produce for these guys, so...
And that's
hopefully the rest of the card is great, and they're, you know, all the other matches really produce, and you can overlook the last match. And you know what? Before I even start talking, hopefully you don't have to overlook the last match, and they do what they do best and entertain. You know, Hulk's a great entertainer, so is Sting.
That matchup at Bound for Glory, those two, and you talk about some of the other matchups on the card. Kurt Angle and Bobby Roode are going to be going against each other for the TNA Championship. And we've asked and spoken to a lot of people on this program, and without asking them directly, unlike we're going to do to you, without asking them directly, though, they've brought up Bobby Roode as one of those talents that they've noticed. Do you have an opinion on Bobby Roode from TNA Wrestling?
Yeah, you know what? It's great to see him get a chance and to see if he can step up and hang with Kurt. You know, Kurt's a machine, you know, and I know he's getting older and he's a little banged up, but I wrestled Kurt for 3 straight months for me and Eddie against him and Benoit, and he's the guy's a machine. He goes and goes and goes, so there's no off switch with him, you know. So it's great to see that, you know, you get the chance. Bobby Roode get a chance, you know. I remember watching when Triple H got that chance,
right?
You know? And next thing you know, he was doing main event stuff, and I remember when we were watching. I was doing WCW. I'm going, why are they pushing him? What's going on? And then he got that chance and broke into that upper echelon, you know, and it's good to see people like that, you know. Hopefully, you know, Rude can deliver, you know, and maybe you get another star.
How did it feel to go back to WWC, where you went back in July for the first time since going to WWE, and then to win the Caribbean Heavyweight Championship?
You know, it was definitely cool. The Puerto Rican fans are, you know, they're pretty crazy, but it's different. You know, it's different because you don't have that huge, you know, machine behind you, and it's a lot of freedom, to be honest. Basically, I just went out there and they just said, "Oh, okay, Chavo, you know, just, you know, I was like, basically, how long do you want me to go?" And they said, "Oh, you do whatever you want." So I was like, "All right, great." So there's really a lot of freedom out there, you know, and so that's I really enjoyed that part of it. And, you know, I made a nice little vacation out of it. I was there for about 4 days and had a, you know, great hotel, and, you know, Carlos Colon really treated me really well. So, you know, that was cool too, you know, so.
Excellent. Well, Chavo, it's been great talking to you. One thing I want to talk to you about as well is what has recently debuted on television, and that is Ring of Honor Wrestling. And obviously familiar with Ring of Honor Wrestling. They're now on about 40 different markets here in the States and on broadcast television, which is filling somewhat of a void for a lot of fans since all of the other programming is on cable television. But do you have an opinion or thoughts on Ring of Honor Wrestling and their chances with this big move?
Well, I hope they make it. You know, it's better for all the wrestlers, and when there's other places to go, you know, and anything with wrestling, I just really want to see it succeed and get bigger and reach out to more people, because it's such a great entertainment. That, you know, people can really enjoy it and lose themselves in the reality, non-reality of pro wrestling, you know. So I really like that opportunity for people to see that, you know. And it's more stars, it's different stars. It's not just the WWE stars, or, you know, just the ones that these are the ones you're going to watch, and this is who you're going to like, and this is who you're going to hate. You know, you get to make more of your opinion. And then with Ring of Honor, you get wrestling. You know, you actually get some great matches, and people actually go out there and, you know, produce. You know, it's great to get a chance to actually see these guys.
Yeah. And, you know, Chavo, we've talked about WWC, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor. A lot of people wondering where next might they see Chavo Guerrero.
Well, there's a lot of, hopefully, on my couch.
Wait a minute.
Was that an invite? Linda?
Yeah, I'll put a picture on Twitter for everybody on my couch. You know what? It's so hard, man, because I've been on the road for 15 straight years, and now actually for me being home for 3 months was like, man, it was so nice, and just I actually was able to, you know, coach my son's team and you know, just be a regular person. It was nice. It was great, you know. So I never would want to go back to the schedule that I kept for the WWE. You know, unfortunately, my job will take me away from my family and keep me on the road. But you know, there's a lot in the works actually right now. Man, I've got a book deal happening right now, and I'm in talks with a documentary, and I just started a new website that'll be up in the next about 5 days, VivaLaRasaShop.com, with you know, new shirts and, you know, all different kind of stuff out there. So I got a lot on my plate. You know, I live in California now, so I'm close to Hollywood.
Sunshine.
Yeah, for sure, a lot of sunshine. We're, you know, in talks with some movie theaters. I'm taking tickets to movie theaters.
You and Fuji.
That's what's going to be out on all the internet reports tomorrow.
Yeah.
Chavo Guerrero is relegated to working in movie theaters, taking box office tickets.
But movie studios, and you know, we've got a new agent coming on here, and I'm doing stuff with the Imperials Car Club, you know, and I got a lot of things on my plate right now. Things that I could never have done being a WWE because they just wouldn't let you do any outside activities.
You're your own boss now.
Yeah, I'm my own boss.
He is married, so his wife is the boss.
yeah, exactly. I'm my boss when I'm allowed to be.
Very nice.
Excellent. Well, Chavo, great talking to you. And again, we'll see you December 3rd here in Milwaukee. Blizzard Brawl 7 going to be taking on Al Snow. I believe that match for the GLCW Heavyweight Championship.
Absolutely. And, of course, we'll have Demolition will be there, Serena Deeb, Chris Masters, Carlito, Harry Smith. It's going to be quite the interesting show. BlizzardBrawl.com for more tickets and information.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Chavo.
All the fans out there, Viva la Raza.
Thank you so much. Chavo Guerrero here on the Pro Wrestling Report. Thank you so much for tuning in.